Hi, welcome to my channel. Here it is, the ultimate guide to manifesting a specific person. This is how I see it, how I teach it to any of my coaching clients that come to me for this reason, how I speak about it in my book, Get Back With Your Ex, available on Amazon. That book is about 3 years old and I have thought about writing a follow-up because there's a lot of stuff in, I cover absolutely everything and I haven't changed my mind on how I see this. So it's not that I've changed my mind on anything, but I think I may have there are things that I might like to add to that, so I might bring out a second version of that. I haven't decided yet. It is my most popular book and it still sells to this day, and it's about, I think it's 3 years old now. Right, there's a few points that I want to make to start with this, and I have taken all of your questions and I don't think I've missed anything, and if I have, I'm really sorry. And if you find that your question hasn't been answered, please do leave a comment here and I'll answer it here, but I think I've covered everything. I'm going to leave those to the end. I'm going to break them into chapters so that anything that's kind of relevant to be in the same chapter will be, and then if you look at those chapters you can select the ones that are most applicable to you or what you want to look at. Maybe you want to look at it all and maybe you don't. So I'm going to make some points before I start what this is going to cover. So this video I'm going to cover manifesting just anyone, just not necessarily a particular person, specific person, so your ex or a person that you haven't dated yet, so not your ex, just a person that you want to be involved with. I'm going to look at rejection, I'm going to look at ghosting, all of that stuff is going to be here. So as I say, I'm going to break it all down because I think this is going to be a really long video. Whether I'll shoot it all in one day, I don't know, because I do have quite a lot to say on the subject and your questions are quite extensive as well. The first point I'm going to make before I go into this at all is a key factor when manifesting a specific person. Mostly this applies to when it's an ex. Why do you want them? And this is not me going, this is a judgment, you shouldn't want them for this reason, you shouldn't want them for that reason. That doesn't matter. I don't care what you want them for, whatever the reason is. It's completely irrelevant to me, it's only relevant to you. And the only reason I say this is, it is key to be honest with yourself about why you want them. Because if you want them, because it's an ego thing and they've rejected you and you want them to come back to you, which is fine. If you pretend that that's not the case, you will have an element of resistance there. You will also have a change in vibration because it won't be genuine. So you're not admitting it to yourself, but it's in there. So that not admitting it to yourself will affect the vibration, will affect the signal, will affect the frequency. So just be honest about it. You don't have to tell anybody else. It's only in your head. It doesn't matter what, just be completely honest so you can go, yeah, this is why I want it. And why the hell not? There's no judgment. You want it because you want it, and that's that. But just be very honest with yourself about why you want it. The second point to make is, what is the resistance around it? What is causing you resistance? Is there a third party that you're worried about? Is there a time factor that you think has been so long, there's no way that this could happen, because why would it? Why would they suddenly reach out to me? Do you know what? I'm just going to make a point here. I have people reaching out to me now from my past, from years ago. I had somebody the other day that I hadn't seen in, I reckon I haven't seen him in 15 years, that he reached out to me. It was nothing, no big deal, but at the same time, why would he? When you think about it, I tell you what happens with me. I talk about this a lot and I talk about it a lot with clients, and I think this is why this happens, why people are always coming into my life from way back and reaching out to me, messaging me, because I'm talking about it a lot. So I'm in the vibration of getting back with an ex, and they're not always exes, sometimes they're just people that I know. It's usually guys, to be fair, it is usually guys, although I did have one girl that I used to work with way back in the day contact me a few months ago. So I think that that's why this happens a lot, because it used to happen on the odd occasion, but now it happens way more. And sometimes it's a person that I think, oh my God, I haven't thought about that person like 20 years or something. So don't even worry about that. That literally means nothing. It's completely irrelevant if you haven't heard from somebody for a couple of years. Doesn't mean anything. The third point to make is this. How will being with this person enhance your life? How do you think it will enhance your life? Because you want to think of the good points. If there's a ton of resistance and a ton of bad stuff and it's not balanced with any good stuff, it's going to be harder because your rational mind is going to question you all the time. It's going to poke at you all of the time. But if there's some good stuff there, you want to write it down so you can see it. How will being in a relationship with this person at this current moment in time enhance your life? How will it make you feel? What would you do together? Would you have mutual friends? It doesn't matter what it is. What you want to do is make yourself a little list that you can look look at and go, that's a positive list, that's good. So if you've got some negative stuff there that you're kind of holding on to, this is going to balance it out a little bit. What we tend to do as humans is we go to the negative stuff and we dwell in that and we think about that and we overthink it and we consider it to be a factor, but we don't think about the good stuff, or not enough anyway, because we're so worried about the bad stuff getting in the way, especially when we know about manifestation, that we neglect to think about the good stuff. But really what we're looking at, always what we're looking at here, is balance. If you've got some balance, don't worry too much. Some of that bad negative stuff, not bad is it, some of that more negative stuff is not really going to impact you if you're balancing it with a lot of good stuff, because you want to be, what you really want to be is at least 60% positive, good, yeah, I can do this, and under, so you're looking at 40% or less, the other stuff. Better if you can get that lower, but to be honest, I've known people manifest that have been sort of 50% there, so they've been more balanced, and it's happened for them. So, you know, we're going to just cover all of this. First of all, I'm going to talk about ghosting and blocking in more general terms. Don't get pissed off with me for saying this, because, oh, it's the law of assumption and I can turn it around because I can assume something else. Yes, you can. Of course you can. I've changed 2 people in my life so massively that it's just crazy. But when you're really hanging on to something, it's very difficult to do. I did it when I didn't care. I didn't care if it happened or, well, and one I did, but I kind of didn't know it could happen. Second one, I just didn't care. I was at the point where like, oh, whatever, you know, but you're probably not at that point. So you have to get realistic, okay? So you are a human being living a human life. Yes, we're more than that, but at the end of the day, that's what you are in the moment. You're living with yourself as a human physical being. So how are we going to deal with that? So first of all, let's say ghosting. So you're in conversation, you send a message, you don't hear anything back. Weeks go by and you've heard nothing. And then they come back to you as if nothing has happened. What do you do in this case? You can choose one way or the other, but what you need to do is get strong in yourself. You can either say to them, and do not be scared about saying things. And with manifestation, we do get too fearful of saying things in case we frighten them off, in case we've ruined the manifestation. You can't be like that. You've got to be true to yourself, because what we're also talking about in this video is building your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and you can't do that if you just ignore it and say nothing about it and don't come up with your truth. So you can just ignore it and just carry on in conversation, but what you must do is keep control of that conversation. Don't let it get to a point where it happens again, and if it does happen again, then you go, right, this is not my problem to solve now. I'm not going to work out how I can manifest them to stop ghosting me. I'm going to know that at some point they're going to come back, because of course they are, but I am going to drop the effort of trying to make it happen, because all I'm going to do is get caught in a vicious cycle. I do want to say also about ghosting and blocking, when it's done, and I can understand a bit more when it's done, because I have done it to somebody, and I actually didn't like doing it at all. Well, I've done it twice in my life actually, but when I warned the person in question I was going to do it, because I just couldn't have communication anymore, and that was an ex that came back into my life, and I can't do this anymore because it wasn't good for either of us. So I did it. I hated doing it. I actually felt ill doing it. Every time I got a message from him and I ignored it, but I thought, I've said it now, I have to stick to this. But it was horrible, hated it. The second time I did it was reasonably recently, with somebody that I felt inappropriate with me, basically, who was kind of a friend but not, and he pushed it too far, and I did answer him, and I was very polite about it, saying no, and then he pushed it a little bit more, and I just thought, nah, I can't go back on that. I just got to not answer it. So I didn't feel too bad about doing it, because I thought he put me in a position that he shouldn't have put me in, basically. He did it, so I didn't really feel bad about that, but the first one I did. So there are different kinds of ghosting and blocking. So if you've really done something to hurt someone and you know that you've done that, or you've had a massive blow up and things have got really out of control and they've just gone block, ghost, because there's been a situation that has kind of pushed them into that, but it's not something they would normally do, but they've done it out of, I don't know, it's a reactive thing. They haven't done it because they've just gone, oh, I'm not answering you anymore. I just can't be bothered, you know. So it's not that. That's a whole different thing, and I get that in some cases. I really do understand that. maybe you've kind of got really pushy with somebody and they've kind of backed off a bit and you haven't, and they've panicked. I kind of understand that a little bit more. But again, if it keeps happening, then I don't understand it. I'm not going to say to you, oh, this is how you get yourself unghosted, because the thing is, you can manifest that and it'll happen again. What you do want to do is look at your own self-concept and your own feelings and your own need for validation. And when you get over that, you won't be ghosted again. And if you are, it will just happen the once, and then you'll handle it so well that they'll come back and it will never happen again. That's the position you want to be in. You don't want to be in the position when you're constantly trying to get somebody to reach out to you and then it happens again and you get caught in this cycle. Again, a lot of you won't like me saying this because you just want to hear affirm for it and do this and do that and it will happen, law of assumption and blah, blah, blah. But it won't help you long term. It will help you short term and it will be like a sugar rush, and then gone again and you've got to do it all over again. What you want to do is get yourself to a place where you don't need to do that, because you're in such a good place emotionally that you don't need to do that, that it just doesn't happen because you are. And even if it does happen on the odd occasion, you'll say like, whatever, that's your problem, that's not my problem. Then they come back, then it doesn't happen again. That's how you want to be, and that's how what I'm looking at achieving from this video, you achieving, I guess. Blocking. Same situation. If it's a thing that's happened and they've done it out of, oh my God, I can't talk to you anymore, block. I get that sometimes because I haven't blocked anybody, to be honest. I haven't done that, but I have, the ghosting thing. So I get it. And in some cases it's understandable. Here's where it's not understandable. You've done nothing, absolutely nothing. There's been no situation. They've just gone, don't want to speak to you anymore, block. I find that absolutely outrageous, actually. I think that is kind of the worst thing to do, because what it does is it makes you feel so crap that it's rejection on such a massive scale, and they just don't care in that moment. Okay, again, law assumption, you can make them care. Yes, you can. But this is, we're dealing with it in the moment. You need to take back your power. Again, what I don't want you to do is go down the road of trying to get unblocked and manifesting getting unblocked, because it will just happen again. It's the manifesting it. Yeah, by all means manifest it, but from a point of feeling really strong and powerful. And that's again what this video is all about, empowering you to be the best version of you, so that what happens is, if this happens to you, because sometimes we've got residual stuff going on, or we have a belief about the way that somebody is, so it shows up to us, they block us, and we're feeling really great about ourselves, and we are really confident and really, have high self-esteem and all of that. And we go, oh my God, so that makes no difference. It's not that. It's just that you may have an inherent belief about the kind of person that this person is, especially when you have past baggage that you're carrying around. So it shows up again. It's got nothing to do with your self-esteem and self-worth and all of that. But what this will allow you to do when you have good self-worth is to go, do you know what? I'm not going to give that any attention. I can see why that's happened, because you can go deep and go inward and go, actually, I do have that feeling about them. But, I would like this to be an end to this. I would like some contact with them again, but I'm not going to try to manifest that, because you don't need to. All you need to do is set an intention. I want to be in communication with them again. Don't even mention I want to be unblocked, right? Because that just puts you in mind of, gives you that little niggle of rejection. I would like some contact again, but I'm not going to fight for it. You're never going to fight for it. But what I am going to do is notice why it's happened. I can get on board with why it's happened. Okay, that's not true. So that belief that you have of that person, that character that you've created, it's not true. Tell yourself that. Tell your subconscious that you want this line of communication open again, and then just get on with life. Go, I'm not doing anything to try and force this person back into my life. I'm not going to do anything that's going to erode the self-confidence and the self-esteem that I've been building, because if I do that, I guarantee you it will, because it will happen and they will come back. But when they do come back, it's because you've got exasperated, or you've given up, or you felt, oh, well, I'm going to let it go now. Then it happens. It's nothing to do with all the work you've been doing leading up to that. That's what we need to get clear about. The letting go is the most important part of the process. But letting go just means you're balanced. You think about it, sometimes you wonder where it is, sometimes you don't. That's all we're looking at here. Where your self-concept is concerned, what is your self-concept at the moment? Do you feel less than? Do you feel like you're not chosen? Do you feel like you can't sustain relationships? There's something about you. They just don't love me enough. I love them more than they love me. I will always love them more than they will love me. Why do you think that? If you think that somebody will always love, that you will always love somebody more than they love you, then that is you saying that you're not good enough to be loved, basically. So if you do have any of that stuff going on, it really needs to be addressed, because it will not stop you manifesting an opportunity to be with somebody, but it will stop you sustaining the relationship or maintaining the relationship, whichever way you want to look at it, because it will get in the way. Because if you have that deep-rooted belief about yourself, it will keep showing to you. It will be an autopilot program ticking over and over and over, and in some way or another, that is going to show back to you in your 3D reality, whether it's them pulling away again, or them treating you in a certain way, or things happening, situations arising from that fact that you have that belief about yourself. So it's really key to know how you feel about yourself, to write it all down, and then write how you want to feel about yourself. How you would, if you felt this, if you created this new character that felt all of these great things, and that you can sort of go back to my self-concept video actually that I did before this to refer back to that. Look at what you want to be, not what you don't want to be anymore. Well, decide that first of all that you don't want to be those things, and then disregard what you don't want to be, because you don't want to keep going back to that. Look at what you do want to be, and just know that yes, you can manifest a specific person when you have a really poor self-concept, but there will be issues within that relationship. You will not feel good enough, you will feel the need for validation, and all of that stuff that will impact that relationship at some point, and kind of like, what would you call it, aid it, sort of help it to crash and burn at some point. Whether it's a gradual thing and just things aren't working out the way that you want them to work out, could show to you like that, or it could be it ends, you know, that person pulls away, it ends again all over again. You've got to go through that manifestation of them all over again, and that's not what you want. So look at self-concept and look at that as being the key to improving your life in general, because it will absolutely improve your life. Because what will happen is you will not have that need for validation, and when things go wrong you go, oh well, and you'll just look at dealing with them, but not in a kind of chasing sense, in a fearful sense. You will just be able to deal with things way better. Rejection will not hit you as hard. You'll be able to deal with it. You won't like it, but you will certainly be able to deal with it, and you'll be able to see why things happened the way they did. You'll be able to be analytical about them and not emotional about them as much. To be able to, you might be emotional for the first sort of short period of time, but then you'll get over it. So yes, self-concept is key, but like I said, I won't go on about that now because I made a whole video about it before this one, so refer back to that. Any form of rejection is not easy to deal with, as good as you might think that you are at dealing with rejection. And none of us likes to be rejected, because it makes you feel a little bit less than. That's not necessarily the other person's fault. You know, if somebody's rejected you, like you've shown that you're interested in someone and they're not, at the moment, they're not interested in you, that's going to hurt, that's bound to hurt, but it isn't their fault in the moment. You can't blame them for rejecting you if they're just not interested in you at the moment. But I can categorically tell you, just because someone's not interested in you in the moment doesn't mean they won't be. Again, I don't want to go into all my old stories because I've spoken about them over and over. I will think I'll add a couple of links here to some old stories. I cringe if I watch these back. I think I hate the way I talk in there, like I'm trying too hard, and I wasn't as confident back then. I think they're really useful to people, and one of them in particular gets so many views still that it seems crazy to take it down. But this is a person that was not interested, that turned around and was in love with me a couple of days later. Crazy. And I talk to clients, and I work with clients where the person has said that they're not interested, and then at some point they are interested. Like they said, no, this is never going to happen, and then they're full on, oh my God, you know, where are you? I need to see you. And it does happen, and it can happen. The only reason it doesn't happen if you keep reminding yourself, but they're not interested, because then what you're doing is you're putting out the vibration and the frequency of they are not interested. So we're just going to call this the universe for today's purposes. The universe reads that and says, oh, right, they're not interested. Here you go. Here's more evidence in your life that they are not interested. So you're going to keep seeing it. You'll see them out with other people. You'll see them commenting to other people that you think, oh, I didn't even know they knew them. Oh, how are they in contact with them? And you'll just see things all of the time that back up your version of reality that says they are not interested. So you have to go, okay, they're not interested in this moment, But now this moment they are, so you're going from moment to moment, this moment they are interested, or they're becoming interested, they're seeing me in a different way. It doesn't matter what spin you put on it, but you have to start spinning it in a different way, because people change their minds about people all of the time. I have met people that I haven't liked. Instantly I thought, nah, don't like you. And a few weeks later, I really like them. This has happened with a couple of people actually over the last year, where I've thought I really don't like them, and I've ended up really, really liking them. And then in the past, I've not found people attractive, and then I found them attractive suddenly. I mean, I do have stories to tell, which I can't tell here, which I do tell in my members area, which are much more personal. So if you do join up as a member at some point, it's £10 a month. You get email support, you get modules, you get courses, you get a lot for that £10 a month. There are success stories in there. There are also some of my more personal stories where I do talk about this sort of thing, but again, YouTube is a huge platform, and out of respect to Jeremy, I don't think, or any other people that I might talk about, I don't think it's fair for me to talk about them on YouTube. So I don't do that, but it is in there, and I have talked about my own personal experiences in this respect. So what is now has no bearing on what can be in the future, even like tomorrow or the day after that, or maybe a few weeks or a few months down the line. It all depends where your mindset is in the time. It doesn't make any difference. It's a crazy notion, isn't it, that you can just shift realities where this person's not interested at the moment, tomorrow this person is. It is crazy, I get it, but seems to be a fact. We are just experiencing different versions of reality. There is another story in my members there which has nothing to do, it is a person thing, but it has nothing to do with like a romantic interest, but it's something that happened to me where I shifted in reality to a weird shit reality. Something happened that wasn't going on before. Again, I won't talk, it was like a friend of mine involved in it, but honestly, it is that crazy. So you have to suspend your disbelief really and go, I don't get this. The reality is not as we've been taught it is, and I'm going to stop rationalizing things, because that's what we tend to do when there's a circumstance. So let's talk about circumstances. When there's a circumstance, what is a circumstance really? It's something that's going on at the moment, or it's something that's gone on in the past. So the past has been and gone. It is nothing now, it's gone. See it falling away behind you. Whatever's going on now, okay, it's going on, but it actually has zero bearing on what you can manifest tomorrow. Well, now, the next second, that's the crazy thing, isn't it? You know, when you let go of something to a degree that you've really, really wanted, it shows up to you and you think it's all that work you put in, all that internal work, but it wasn't. It was the letting go bit where it showed up. With circumstances, I'd stop even calling them circumstances, really. I'd stop referring to them. When you go to them in your mind, which we naturally do, you need to disregard them. So you can make a statement to your subconscious like disregard, or you can say dissolve, or you can say not true. Not true is the one that I use, to be honest. Also, if you're looking at things that are circumstances that have involved you and something's happened and you cringe at it, you think, oh my God, just say to yourself, that didn't happen. It's a really quick and easy form of revision. That didn't happen. Because you think that's nothing. You think, well, that can't do anything. But your subconscious is taking that in. Oh, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. It really makes you feel better as well. So it's just a simple way of not conjuring up a visual, a revision visual, because you can be very resistant to that. I'm a little bit resistant to that. I prefer just to go, that didn't happen. That's not enough for some people. They feel like there should be more to revision, but actually it doesn't have to be. If you're just trying to wipe an event out, just keep saying it does. Every time it pops back into your head, that didn't happen. It's really, really simple. Can't do any harm in the moment, can it? It just feels better. Even if you feel nothing from it, your subconscious is picking up on that. It is getting something from it. Okay, so first question, I sort of covered this, haven't I? It's been almost a year without them. So I'm going to put this question up now, which was from one of you guys. How do I think that's possible when it's been almost a year? It means nothing, and actually I would look at it in a real positive way, because the longer it's been, the more chance if you've been manifesting them in which whatever you've been doing and you haven't seen any results from it, okay, you haven't seen results, but the thing is, when you're thinking about somebody, they are thinking about you. It's just you'll pop into their head. It's just a law of physics. So the fact that it's been a year, I wouldn't see that as a negative at all. It really doesn't, because it really isn't, because they've had all that time to miss you. They've had all that time to get feelings of you, to be thinking about you and pondering whether it's a good idea to reach out to you and that kind of thing. You will have been on their mind. So let's say if it's just been a couple of weeks, for example, there'll be no build there, you know. At least there's a build here. There's a build up of feeling, a build up of emotion. And again, it doesn't mean anything. Time means zero to this. It could be a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later. Yeah, and when we say about people moving on, yes, they're probably living a life which might involve them seeing somebody else at the moment, or dating in general, because that is what life is, isn't it? But it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back to you. It doesn't mean they're not going to reach out to you at some point, because you will have been on their mind. So they will have been thinking about you. So the possibility is there. The possibility is always there. It's probable when you stop thinking about it so much, when you go, do you know what, I'm giving up on this, I'm not going to do this anymore. But time is not a factor with manifestation. I have a client who manifested somebody after 30 years. Imagine all of the circumstances. This is way back. But you know, that's a long time. And I have clients that get contact with people after 2, 3, 4 years. That's fairly usual. So don't consider that a thing. Try and look at it as a positive thing. The longer they've had away from you, the more they've thought about you, the more energy of your energy they've been feeling over that time. So not a negative. Okay, if you're manifesting something, I don't know whether this refers to people or not, and we'll refer it as if it's people. So you're talking about something that you want a relationship, but you're talking to friends and family about how the situation is now and how it, you know, you're probably talking about circumstances. What are you doing when you do that? You're living in the energy of what you don't want. So in my opinion, so if I really want to manifest something and I can see the opposite happening in reality, I'm not going to talk to my friends about that opposite version of events that's happening at the moment, because I don't want to live in that, and that's not what I want to experience. And I know that if I start talking about it, I am going to be living in the energy of it, and that's the signal and that's the frequency I'm putting out there. Equally, if there's something that's you need to talk about, you need to get off your chest, do it. You know, I'm not saying don't talk about things, but don't keep talking about them. Get them off your chest and then go, I can't manifest this, I can't change my life to be what I want it to be if I constantly remind myself of what it is now, because I'm dwelling in what I would call the problem. So what you don't want is the problem in a way, isn't it? I'm dwelling in that, so I can't do that. So my advice to you is get stuff off your chest, talk to your friends when you need, and friends and family when you need to talk to them, when you feel like you need somebody to talk to, but don't keep hashing over the same old ground. This is why sometimes couples therapy doesn't work, because you go along to the session and you keep going on about all the stuff that didn't work and went wrong, and resentment and anger, and so you come away with it all still there, bubbling away. I don't know, it might depend on what therapist you have. I just know 2 people that have done it and it hasn't worked for them. And one of them, I had a conversation with her and she said this was why, because it just reminded her of how shit everything was. So do you know what, that would be my advice on that score. Sometimes I respond with the energy of victim. So you go into victim mode. And that's another question, which I'll put up now, put the full question up now. Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't worry too much about that. The key is not in your reaction, it's how you react to that reaction, because we really can't help our reactions. I get that sometimes. So I completely understand that. Don't panic about it. Don't worry about it. Just notice it and go, not true. I'm not a victim here. Now, I'm going to say this, and I haven't used this for a long time, and do you know what, I've got clients that have hated this when I've said it and now love it and go, do you know, I couldn't get on with it, but now I just say it all of the time. I used to say to myself, I will not be a victim to my own feelings. So what you're doing is, in the moment, that trigger, you're dealing with it in the moment, and as long as you do that, don't worry too much about trigger points. I mean, eventually you won't have them so much. You'll have the odd one, but not as many. But the key here is to don't worry about it. Don't then react to that reaction by overthinking, oh my God, I keep doing this, I keep reacting. Don't worry about it. You know, again, I could be talking to somebody, they could say something to me that could trigger something in me in the moment, and I notice it and I think, oh, I don't like it, and I go, no. Not having that. That's my favourite saying now, not having that, and then I just don't dwell in it, it's gone. And it hasn't impacted me in my life because I've dealt with it. When I say I'm not having that, I know that my subconscious knows, yeah, don't manifest anything about that, that's been and gone. So just deal with it in the moment, but don't worry about those reactions. This one, the idea that she is with somebody else and can't possibly want me. Whether she is with somebody else or isn't with somebody else, it doesn't mean she doesn't want you. That is the key factor here. Just because you can't see evidence of something, it doesn't mean that that person isn't thinking about you. And again, think about life. We go through different relationships, don't we? We have a relationship, it ends. We have another relationship, it ends. I mean, I didn't have that many relationships. I seemed to go from one long-term relationship to another. And I did wonder, do I need that? Is it something in me that just needs to be with somebody? Because I never seemed to be able to be single. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy being single, it just kind of didn't happen for very long. And I was always in a long-term relationship. I don't think it was a personal choice as such. I don't think it was. I don't know, I've never thought too hard about it. But we drift in and out of relationships. So just because she's in a relationship now, she may not be in that relationship next month or the month after or 6 months down the line. But try to look at it like, as she's with somebody else, she's noticing what she doesn't have with that person that she had with me, or it's temporary. There's so many ways that you can deal with it, but the key factor, as with all of this, don't dwell in it. Just do not dwell in it, because it's just something that's going on at the moment. And my favourite word in these cases is temporary, because everything actually is temporary, isn't it? Everything in life is temporary, and this too is temporary. This too shall pass. Anything that helps you, but do bear in mind that just because someone is seeing someone else doesn't mean they don't want you. And that, again, I totally know for a fact. So that actually means nothing. And often when they're with somebody else, and maybe that relationship isn't great, they're thinking of you even more often. So that, scrub that. It's not an issue. Nothing's an issue, but I'm just trying to give you ways to work with that as not being an issue. How to deal with it when they come back. Do you know, I'm going to give you some advice that I've been giving advice out left, right and centre like this over the last few weeks. Don't try to manifest different. They've come back. Pretend you don't know about the law of attraction, law of assumption. I mean, it's difficult to do that when you do, but what I'm saying is don't live according to that. Just live your life. Know what you know. Be strong in yourself. Only have the need to validate yourself. Don't try and validate yourself. Don't try to get their validation. Just know that it's all about you, all about your self-worth, self-esteem, but you're going to have fun. You're just going to live this relationship as it is for now and just see how it goes. See how it works out, because sometimes relationships don't work out and we make that choice because we think they're all that and then we realise that actually they're not. So just go at the relationship as if you would if you didn't know about this. Don't try and manifest them saying things, doing things in a certain way, treating you in a certain way. Just know what you want. Know you've set that intention. Set the intention of what you would like with your subconscious. Your subconscious has a clear intention. It knows exactly what you want. It's going to allow that to unfold for you. But if you keep trying to do that, you'll ruin the relationship, because you'll start living in fear again. Because what you'll do is notice that these things aren't happening, because these things don't happen when we really want them. We're really, really waiting for them. They don't. They won't. So you'll start building fear. Don't do that. Just enjoy the relationship for whatever it is in this moment. When you do that, your energy will shift. You'll have a higher vibe. You'll just be enjoying it. And always say to yourself this: if it does end and it's out of my hands, you know, if it ends and I have been a bit fearful when it's ended, well, I can do it again, or I can move on. Give yourself a reason that you will be okay. But to be honest with you, if you look at it like this, I'm just going to now throw myself into this, have the best fun I can, the best time I can, be the best version of me, not try to get them to do anything, to say anything, to be different, because let's face it, I've manifested the opportunity to give it another shot. Now I'm going to give it my best shot, and I can't do that if I'm constantly trying to make them a certain way. They will be all of that stuff if you don't care. They will absolutely. That is my best advice on the subject there. Just throw yourself into it, have a good time, and think, I'm going to enjoy this in the moment. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm assuming, is this physical imperfections or not, or inner imperfections? I'm thinking this is physical imperfections. Like, I've got loads of them. Really, I have. And what you see on camera here, and I get loads of lovely comments, thank you so much. I do get loads of lovely comments, but bear in mind I have a ring light on. I mean, I don't always, sometimes I shoot in my car, and that's the real me. So really, if you want to look at the real me, look at those, because they're not the same as this. Because a ring light and the lighting out in this conservatory does, you know, it doesn't show the lines under my eyes. It doesn't show me exactly as I am in real life. and I do have imperfections, and sometimes I cover them up and sometimes I don't. You know, I have bodily imperfections and in my face, you know, I have imperfections. I have a patch of burst capillaries here, which I could get something done about, which I don't bother. Thing is, I don't really care about these things, and so try not to care so much. I have the sun damage on my head, which is 50% better since I manifested that. I'm going to have a go at manifesting it away completely now. You know, I have a gap in my eyelashes here, a quite considerable few millimeter gap where I've got no eyelashes whatsoever. I do fill that in. I didn't used to actually, and I don't know where I started doing. I didn't used to bother years ago, but I do now. But I just sort of tight line that eye thing there, so I do it there naturally, so you can't tell, but I do. So when I take all of my makeup off, Jeremy sees me as I am. I have no eyelashes here. You know, there are other things about my body that aren't perfect. I've got weird lumps and bumps. I've got really weird lumps in my hands that the anaesthetist pointed out to me, which I thought, why are you pointing that out to me? I already know, you know. I really have like weird stuff going on, and but none of that bothers me. And I will talk about this actually. To give you an example, my mum, when she was 2 years old, she climbed up onto the side. My nan looked away for 2 minutes and she tipped boiling hot water all over herself from like up here, splashed all the way completely down her arm. She was in hospital for 6 months. They thought she was going to die. It makes me emotional when I say it, actually. So they got the vicar in and everything, and the vicar, I'm not sure. And they said to my nan and grandpa, she's going to die, because she was so bad. But in the end, she didn't, because she was 2 years old, and she basically had all these skin grafts. And she has covered up her arm for, what is she now? She's coming up for 78, and I think she covered up her arm until she was 70. She was too embarrassed of it. She wouldn't, and I used to say, why don't you just let it out? Because I'm so used to it that it's just her. I don't think anything of it at all. And I also have a friend, well, not actually a friend, but somebody I know that has the similar thing, not as bad as my mum's, but she never cared about it, and she would wear like little strappy tops, and I wouldn't think anything of it, and I don't think any of us did, any of the friends. We just got used to it. But my mum said, no, I can't do that. No, oh no. And she was just so self-conscious of it. Now, I said to her, I think if I had it, I would go short sleeves. I think I would, because I don't know. You don't know, do you? I mean, it really is, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's her whole arm. It's like, you imagine the worst burns. And so she's had tons of skin grafts. And it is sort of starts here and goes, I don't think she's got any on her neck, but it's kind of up on her shoulder and right down to her lower arm. But I would say it was about when she was 70. She just goes, do you know what? I'm just not going to care anymore. And she just made that decision to not care. And now every summer she's got her arms out. I don't think anything of it. And I'm sure, I'm not saying, of course people notice it. You notice things, don't you? But these days, there's so many great advertisements and that, you know, models that are used that are imperfect. I think that really helps with this kind of thing, because you don't think anything of it now. You watch these adverts with people with like melasma or something, or different, what you would call imperfections, and I just love it, because I don't see any. I really love it, and I think it really helps the general public, you know, anybody that is dealing with stuff like that, to think, it's not a big deal. So what? I am going to go out like this. I am going to be proud. And I don't think my mum's proud of it, but she definitely doesn't. I don't think she thinks about it anymore, because she will wear a strappy top, or, you know, not if she's going out in the evening, she doesn't, but in the daytime she does. And she just goes with it. And I'm really pleased for her that she can do that now, even though she didn't do it until she was 70. I am really pleased that she can do that, because people don't think as much of your imperfections as you do. You give them so much focus because you think they're negative, you think they're not great, they're not perfect, but other people don't give them that attention. I mean, I really love imperfection. I love little quirks and things. I really do. I think a lot of people do, and then a lot of people are indifferent. I think the majority of people are indifferent to your imperfections. Majority, I would say probably 85-90% of people are completely indifferent, and those that aren't have probably just got other issues going on if they've got a real problem with it. But do you know what? Mostly people don't care. They really don't care. So that would be my advice on that. Work at not caring, work at going, what can I embrace about this? How can I embrace this imperfection? Can I just go, do you know what? It's there. I'm just not going to worry about it. I wouldn't work really hard at manifesting anything away, because anything you try to manifest away won't go away. Anything you resist persists. It will be in your reality way more. So I wouldn't even try to do that. But if you do want to, then you can do it, but you need to not care before you can do it. So, and when you don't care, you don't care. So do you know what I mean? That's the thing to work at. Don't care. But do bear in mind that most people are just completely indifferent. Sort of inbuilt things, this question here, like boys will be boys. That's the example that you gave. Like you have to lower your standards because you've got a certain standard and you're not managing to get into relationships with those kind of people that you've set those standards. Should you lower your standards? No. Never lower your standards. Your standards are your boundaries, really. So your boundaries, well, are you talking about standards as in physical standards, or personality kind of standards, the way somebody treats you? Either way, whatever you want is what you want, and just go with that. Never lower your standards in any way. What you want is what you want, and tell yourself it's okay to want what I want. Those sayings, there's a saying that I realised has affected me in my life, and I've never kind of thought about it before. It was that pride comes before a fall. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was talking to somebody else about it, and I thought, God, those statements, you know, those stupid things that we're taught when we're younger, stay in there. So that can manifest in a way that your life is going great and you're feeling like, oh, this is all great. And then you suddenly think, oh no, what's going to go wrong now? Because you almost feel like it can't be this good, or you don't deserve it to be this good. But I bet a lot of that comes from that saying, pride comes before a fall. So if you think it does, change it to this: pride comes before more reasons to be proud. Turn it around, change that saying, because those sayings have so much power, because they're said to us over and over again when we're younger, and they go in there like a little spell. So these things like boys will be boys is an absolute nonsense, isn't it? We're all individuals. So what one boy is, another boy is not. You know, that is complete crap. And again, it's one of those stupid sayings that is based in what? What literally is that based in? That's come from somebody who's just generalizing and who's saying that boys are a type and girls are a type. We know that's not true, don't we? Look at your experience over life. You know that's not true. So whatever, there is no set standard. Like, you know, there's no standard like boys are this and girls are this. We're all individual. And the thing is, all that really matters is what we are, because what's going on inside of us is what's reflected back on the outside, regardless of what broad terms we put on things. So if you have something going on inside where you feel really worthy, and I really don't like that word actually, we feel worth it. I prefer that, because worthy is like, I'm worthy to whatever this is, to get what I want. I'm worthy for it. But if you just say, no, I'm worth it, your self-worth comes from not needing validation from other people. And do you know what? In a nutshell, that's what it is. If you don't need validation from anyone else, you're only going to validate yourself, and you have got tippity-toppity self-worth, self-concept. And often we do need validation, even if we don't think we do. Have a think about it. If you have something that's going on in your life and it's exciting and it's great, and you want to tell your friends, that's cool, you want to tell your friends, but are you wanting to tell your friends to see what their reaction is and to see them say, oh my God, that's so amazing, you're so incredible? Why are you telling them? Just because you want to pass on the news, or because you want to hear how amazing you are? That is a clear indication of whether you need validation or not. And if you're trying to behave in a certain way to get somebody to behave back to you in a certain way, then that's the need for validation. Then you're not being true to yourself. So self-worth is all about not needing validation and being able to be true to yourself. So say what you feel in the moment, providing it's not a reactive saying what you feel. You know, have a think about it, and always do be true to yourself. I have found in the past, on and off, I've done things, and one particular time in my life said things that I really didn't mean. What I mean is so that I would seem like this person, and I wasn't really. You know, there was a lot about me that the other person didn't know, and I was kind of covering up, I suppose, and pretending to be somebody that I wasn't. And that is that need for validation from that other person, which is no use to you. Honestly, it will not result in anything good, because it then causes fear inside of you that you're going to lose that, and then you do lose it. Of course you do. So I now, even though if in the moment I kind of feel like I'm going to say one thing, I will then go, why would I say that? Because if I say that, then I'm kind of thinking about their feelings and how this is going to impact them. or looking a certain way, what do I really feel? What do I really mean? Okay, I'm going to say that. And occasionally I have to have a word with myself and make myself do that. And I feel much better when I've done it, because I thought I've been true to myself. But mostly I do that anyway. Like with Jeremy, for example, I will just say how I feel about something. If something's happened and it's upset me, sometimes I tend to go a bit quiet. This happened, it was a minor thing when we were away in Poland. And I just went quiet because it upset me. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to get over this in half an hour. But I just couldn't be bothered to have any conversation with him. And then he was like, oh, have I upset you? And I go, oh, yeah, a little bit. Just say, yeah, a little bit, I'll be all right. And then kind of he spends the next half an hour being extra nice to me. And I probably did let it go on a little bit longer than I should have done because it was nice. But then I did explain to him why it had upset me, and just in a really, like, I'm not getting in a mood. I can't do a mood, so I'm just not that sort of person. So, but I said I did go quiet because it did really upset me, and I just didn't want to talk to him in that moment. And but I was still talking, was still conversing with him, but not being overly conversational. And then I just explained, no, this is why that upset me. Oh yeah, and he completely understood why it had. He goes, yeah, sorry, because he knew really at the time that he was wrong. I knew he knew it was wrong, and he said sorry, and then it's a done deal. I've forgotten about it. I don't think about it again once he said sorry. And even if he hadn't said sorry, I just needed to get it off my chest of why it upset me. So that was done. So I'm a great believer in speaking the truth of how you feel in the moment, not pretending to be something different, because if you're pretending to be something different or feel something different, it's because of a need for validation in some way, or a need not to rock the boat, or a need to keep the status quo. Do you know what I mean? And don't do that, because it's still in there. And if I had not have told him why I was upset, or just carried on as usual, which I can do quite easily because I can forget about things really easily, but it really did bother me, then it would have just kept bothering me, it would have kept niggling me, and it would have kind of impacted. Like I said, it wasn't even a huge thing, it was just a little thing, but it would have impacted me for hours probably, whereas as it was, I dealt with it within half an hour. So don't be scared of being you, don't be scared of saying what you feel, because if you fear saying something in case that person pulls away, they're going to pull away anyway, because you've got a fear inside of you anyway, so it's going to show to you at some point. Right, I've left this section to the end because it's not strictly what this video is about, but manifesting, you asked, I'm going to put the question up here now, a section on manifesting other people, so not a romantic interest, so maybe reconnection with an old friend, somebody reaching out to you, you want a change of career, somebody reaching out to you, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's say you want a change of career. What is that change of career that you want? Be really specific about what it is that you want. And I'll give this example again, which I've given before, but I've left this to the end. I think this will be useful. When I knew I wanted to be a writer, I really wasn't sure how to go about that. I knew that I could start submitting articles, but I was a bit hesitant. I kind of needed something to happen, I guess, but I didn't know that, but my subconscious knew that. So I just go, yeah, I want to be a writer. I don't know how this is going to manifest, but this is what I want. And then 2 or 3 days later, I was introduced to a journalist, and we started talking about what I did. I brought up the writing, not because I expected him to give me any work, it didn't even cross my mind, but basically then he did. So that's how I got my first job. So that was another person involved in that, but I didn't know this person to start with, and then I did, and then he became a friend. And I worked for him, he paid me really decent money to write. Then I got the confidence that I could do it because somebody intelligent, a smart person, was paying me to write for him, so I must be okay at this. So then I could submit articles and be confident in that. So that's the way you do that. Contact from old friends, yeah, that's quite an easy one actually, because you don't have too much resistance, you're not thinking about it all the time. So the best way to go about this and go, I really like this person to pop back up in my life, and maybe go for a coffee with them or something, just an opportunity to see if we can reconnect. Intend that, state it to your subconscious, this is what I would like, and then kind of say, go back to some memories of them and evoke those memories again. How did it feel when you went clubbing together, for example? How did it feel when you used to meet up on a Saturday night and go to the pub? How did it feel when you used to go to the cinema together? I don't know, whatever it is that you did. Go back to those occasions and dwell in the energy of those times just for a couple of minutes or so, and just do this on and off. But really, you've set that firm intention. At some point, that person is going to reach out to you. So that's a really simple way of dealing with this. So it's really great to get that clear instruction. give it to your subconscious. I'd like this person to reach out to me at some point when the time is right or whatever. So that takes that element of you looking for it out of it. And you always think, well, that probably won't happen. But when you live in the energy of things that have happened, I've done this before when I've been telling a story about somebody and I've seen that person in the afternoon. It wasn't anyone I wanted, you know, I was just telling a story about them, hadn't seen them for a few years, and then I literally saw them that afternoon. So that's what happens. You re-evoke that energy of you and them in some situation, and that's when they appear back in your life. Okay, meeting a well-known celebrity. Now, I didn't meet this celebrity, but it was a really funny thing. So, because I've never had a desire to meet this, I don't think I have a desire to meet any celebrity. Well, that said, that's not 100% true. If I ever met Dick Van Dyke, which I probably haven't got long to do that now, maybe Stephen Fry, I find him really interesting. Is there anybody else? Those are the two people, like, I just love Dick Van Dyke. And if I was going to sit down and talk to anybody, it would probably be, I would find either of those really interesting to talk to. Is there anyone else? I still kind of like John Bon Jovi, but I'd go to pieces if I was sat down next to him, so I wouldn't want to meet him. But here's the story. So I was talking about my crush on Jude Law. I wouldn't want to meet him either because I'd just go to pieces. So I'm like, it just would not be good. I don't know how that would be. So I have no desire to actually meet him, but I do think he's lovely. So I was just talking about him with a friend. I was talking about why I liked him. We were talking about different films and that kind of thing. And I know how good I am at manifesting things. A couple of days later, Harry goes to me, did you know Jude Law was in Bath today? And I'm like, no. Yeah, he went to the View Cinema, he had his hood up and that, and then he spoke to somebody, I don't know if somebody asked him for an autograph, or we had a conversation with somebody, and that person went online and go, oh, he's so lovely and stuff. And I was just laughing, and I thought, oh, that is just it, isn't it? So I believe I manifested that. And also, but who I did manifest was Andrew Lincoln, and I've told this story way back, but if you're new here, you would have never heard this because it's such an old video, from The Walking Dead, because he lives reasonably locally, I don't know, about 20 miles from where I live. So he's kind of a local boy. And where I work, at that moment in time, there was a cafe, there's still a cafe there now, but it's not in the same place, and it was a sit-down cafe there, and an indoors one. I'm kind of making it sound like it's an outdoors one now, but it isn't, but okay, that's completely irrelevant. Anyway, I just said to Jeremy, oh, it'd be really cool to see Andrew Lincoln out at the Glove, wouldn't it? So that's the name of the studios at the cafe, Field Kitchen. It was called the Field Kitchen, the cafe at the time, really great. I'm surprised actually that we've never seen him there. And I was really quite into The Walking Dead at the time. And I don't know, it was just a few days later. Jeremy, I came into the cafe, I was meeting him, because he doesn't work there anymore, Jeremy, but we were meeting a client that he was going to do some work for, and I was going to do some work for, and he sat there, and he's looking at me going, trying to point it, and I look, and there is Andrew Lincoln, like, honestly. So again, I firmly believe that I manifested that, and it was so hilarious because people kept coming in because they knew he was there and pretending that they hadn't noticed him. That was, again, yeah, and I manifested a newsreader that I really loved and said I would really love to have a chat with him. But he's a much older guy, and I was thinking, and I kind of didn't really mean it, I suppose, when I said it. I just could imagine sitting down having a lovely chat with him. That's a really sweet guy. Few days later, it's always days later, he sat behind us in our like local-ish restaurant, and I didn't even know that he lived local, because local newsreaders, they cover a massive area, don't they? Jeremy's going, don't look now, but he's called David Garmston. David Garmston sat behind you, and I like, oh my God, he was going, go and talk to me. I can't do that, it's dinner. It's hilarious. So I didn't get to have a chat with him. But again, that can happen. So yeah, you can definitely get to meet a celebrity. Just state it to your subconscious. I would like at some point to meet this person, maybe get a chance to have a chat with them, or whatever it is that you want from that. Absolutely, because that's 3 occasions I've done it, you know, living in the energy of it, of that person, talking about that person, end up seeing that person. So yeah, totally possible. Meeting a mentor. So I guess you want a mentor in a certain area, but you don't know who that would be, and maybe you don't want to pay for that. I don't know quite what you meant by that question, but that's what I'm going to get that from. Yeah, again, just state it to your subconscious. We just don't ask enough. That's the key here. And I'm asking mine all of the time. Just ask for what you want. I would like to meet somebody that I could call a mentor that's really going to help me in this line of work that I want to get into, or in this sort of area of spirituality. I don't know what it is that you want. So again, you have to state it. You have to be clear about what you want, and then you just have to allow it to happen. It could be next week. It could be the week after. With me, when I'm just talking about things and I have no set intention, it happens so bloody quick. I mean, with those 3 people, it was 3 manifestations, and I didn't get to talk to any of them, but I definitely wouldn't want to talk to Jude Law, because like I said, I would have just gone bright red, and I would have been very chatty and I would have come across okay, but I would have felt really uncomfortable because I'm thinking, I fancy you, and no, wouldn't have worked. No, I wouldn't want that. David Gumston I would have had a chat with, but not disturbed his dinner. And Andrew Lincoln I would have comfortably had a chat with, but again, he was just sat down meeting a friend. I was never going to go over and talk to him, but it was just a case of saying, wouldn't it be great to see him here? And then he's there. But when I do it with a set intention, it usually takes a bit longer, because I kind of probably go back there a little bit often and think, oh, I wonder if that's going to happen. Whereas you don't do that when you're just lost in conversation. So another good way of doing this is imagining yourself having a conversation with a friend or a family member about the mentor that you, oh my God, it's amazing, just the right person's come into my life at the right time, or any of those situations. Conversational stuff really works for me, because I imagine having conversations with people, and then I've had those conversations in real life, because that's just the way my mind works. It immediately goes to conversations, probably because I talk a lot. So anyway, I think that's the last of it. And if I have missed your question, do ask it here and I will answer it. And I really do apologise if I have. I tried to collate them all and I was copying and pasting them, so I might have missed the odd one. I've done my best, so please do again ask. I'm more than happy. I will go into great detail here if you ask it here. Apologies if I didn't say it. And hopefully I covered it in what I was talking about anyway, if I didn't answer your specific question. Thank you so much for watching. This has been an absolute marathon, and I hope that I managed to put it together all right. I hope I haven't lost anything. Hope everything's recorded all right, because I've done it in batches, and the weather has stayed lovely for me, and I intended that. It's meant to be raining here today. It's meant to be a horrible day, and I said to my subconscious this morning, please allow me the perfect conditions to shoot my video today, because I knew this was going to go on, and I had to keep stopping, looking at the questions and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure when this is going to go out, because I have to do a good job on the editing here. So it might not be this weekend. It might be Monday that you actually end up seeing this, but maybe it'll be before. I don't know. It depends how much time I've got. Thank you so much for watching, continuing to support this channel, continuing to support me by buying my books. And I am a life coach. What am I? Yeah, I've completely forgotten what I am. I'm an author, a life coach, manifesting coach. Hey, I'm just back for a brief 2 questions that I missed, and I thought, no, I'm going to come on and answer them rather than just put those answers in the comments section, as you've taken the time to make them. So excuse me, no effort today because it's Sunday, and I really would love to get this video out tonight, and if not, it'll go out tomorrow. I've already edited it. This is just gonna have to be something that I slot in at the end. It's been a long, long time, and you're frustrated with yourself for even still wanting it. So this was the question. What if it's been so long, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, you think if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now? No, that is so not true. Like I've said, I've worked with people that this has been longer than this. A year is a very common amount of time, and I guess the majority of people I work with is around the year mark. Sometimes it's just happened, but mostly it's when people have got frustrated, and that does happen around the year mark, because you look around and you think, a whole year's gone and I've wasted my time on this. Should I just not be moving on? It's not true to say if it would have happened, if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But what is really important is that you go, from today, I'm going to take my focus away from it. It's going to happen at some point. Something is going to show up to me at some point, but I can't live in this limbo land anymore, because if I'm looking for it and I'm getting frustrated, then I'm actually waiting for it. So I'm in the energy of waiting. I'm in the energy of not having it, even if that's not all of the time. But if it's there in the background, it's an underlying thing. That is what's holding it away, basically. It's that underlying feeling that you have all of the time, because that is an autopilot program that just runs and runs and runs. So the best thing to do is say to yourself, so intend that you just keep forgetting about it, and then you'll go and you say, oh, I noticed like a couple of hours later it wasn't in my conscious awareness at all. So that is the best way to start with this. I keep noticing that I forget about it. And then you'll remember that you've forgotten about it, and you'll think, I didn't think about it. It wasn't in my conscious awareness for whatever amount of time. Then you give that momentum and you go, that is awesome. I am shifting. Something is shifting here. But your focus should not be on manifesting them at this point, because it's just going to take over your life and you'll get caught in a cycle. It should be your focus should be on detachment, really, because that is the most important thing. The most important aspect of this is detachment. And when people say it's not, because you affirm over and over and over and then something will happen, yeah, but those people are probably already in a state of detachment. Just because they're affirming doesn't mean they're attached. So it's a state of mind thing, and it's because it's just very subtle inside of you. Well, everything is inside, isn't it? But it's a very subtle vibration that it isn't here yet. And that is you, an autopilot program saying, it isn't here yet. Here you go, universe, it isn't here yet. Oh, here you go, then it isn't here yet. And that's all that is. But your focus should not be on manifesting them now. At this point, should be on detachment. And then that just happens naturally. They come back into your life in one way or another. Then you get to choose yes or no at the time. But there does come a point when you have to go, do you know what? I'm done with manifesting this, I'm done with thinking about this, where I'll allow myself to think about it when it pops in there, but I will not engage with those thoughts. I will let them come in and go out again, because that is the only way you move on to the next stage. You just get stuck in this stage otherwise. So that is kind of my best advice on that score. Don't get scared of detachment, because there's nothing better than detachment. It's a really freeing feeling, but you can't do that where you're stuck in this limbo of looking for it and where is it, oh, well, should have happened by now, and all of that. You can't do it. You just get lost in that. The next question was, and the final question, I hope that I've covered everything now, was something happened with a certain person. They said, no way, something happened, and you think you cannot possibly change their mind in order for something to, I don't know whether this was a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever, you don't have to change their mind. You do not have to look at changing somebody's mind. All you've got to do is look at what you want, decide what you want. So what is your outcome, your favourite best case scenario? What is that? That's all you need, because somebody changing their mind is not your problem to solve. That will happen. That will just happen naturally. They will just change their minds. Something will happen, they will change their minds. I mean, again, it's something I hear so many stories about. People talk to me about this all of the time. Oh my God, they changed their mind. They felt this and now they feel this, because this is not dependent on you getting somebody to change their mind. This is dependent on you deciding what you want and going, that is what I want. That is what I want, and that's that. And then everything else changes for you. You don't have to do it. When you focus on trying to get somebody to change their mind, whether that's manifesting it or openly doing it in an action-based thing, it doesn't happen, because your energy is a push. I must get you to change your mind. I must make this happen. It's the backwards law. The more you push, the more it pulls. So you don't have to focus on that. That should not be your focus at all, getting someone to change their mind. That never really occurs to me unless I can do it really naturally, because I'm not attached to it at all. But mostly I'm just like, no, this is what I want, and I know that my subconscious and reality will conspire in order for that, whatever the outcome is I want, because it's an outcome you want at the end of the day, isn't it? It's not necessarily the person changing their mind, it's the actual outcome. So just forget about the change of the mind thing. That happens. Look at how many times you've changed your mind over your life about different things. I've done it a ton of times. We do it all of the time, and we're probably doing it based on somebody else's energy. So do not even focus on it. I would actually drop the thing that you're thinking they need to change their mind about this, because then this becomes a problem, becomes the circumstance. It's irrelevant to what you can manifest. Focus on the outcome only, and just go, do you know what? I can't do anything about that. That's not my problem to solve. Reality will sort that out for me, and purely focus on the outcome. Right, that's it. That's all I've got to say. Oh my gosh, this video will be over an hour now, so hopefully you've just picked out the bits, or well, if you've watched it all, awesome, amazing. But if not, though, I've chaptered it, so hopefully everything is easy to maybe save into a playlist and go backwards and forwards to. Thank you so much for watching.